the mainstream just went off air.
For 60 years, the Pentagon Press Room was a private club. CNN, ABC, NBC, they had keys to the kingdom. They leaked classified information, undermined our troops, and turned war coverage into anti-American propaganda. Well, last week, they walked out in protest, refusing to sign new security rules. And you know what happened? Nobody missed them. Now something incredible is taking place. A new generation of journalists is about to walk through those Pentagon doors. Real America's Voice, Human Events, Lindell TV, outlets that actually support our military instead of sabotaging it. The Department of War just announced the future of military journalism, and the establishment is, of course, melting down. The truth is finally getting its turn. So stay tuned. Now, it has been all over the news lately. President Trump's renewed focus on American mining and critical minerals, and right now, District Copper Corps is in the middle of it. Trading under ticker CAXPF, they have just announced a major U.S. partnership with Reacher Gold LLC, unlocking access to proven gold and silver assets across Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. These aren't just exploration projects. They are real infrastructure-ready properties with verified stockpiles and historical high-grade production. This partnership gives District Copper immediate U.S. production potential and a powerful position in the metals market. With Washington investing billions to secure domestic copper and rare earth supplies, their cross-border strategy, combining Canadian strength with new U.S. assets, couldn't be better timed. So check out the link in the description to learn more. And a big thanks to District Copper Corp for sponsoring today's video. So this just in from One America News. We have Carrie Lake. The Pentagon, they write here, the Pentagon's new press rules focus on enforcing security and protecting operations, not restricting access. Officials say the changes ensure safety for troops and integrity for classified missions. Let's hear what Carrie Lake has to say.
My first reaction to all of this, when I read the letter, I did not see it as a threat to First Amendment right. I mean, it just seemed like it was a standard kind of, hey, you have to abide by Pentagon rules if you want to report out of the Pentagon. So I did not see anything alarming about that per se. And I remembered my White House days covering the White House, and some of the requirements laid out in this new letter include you cannot walk around the Pentagon willy-nilly like we used to, I guess. But that's the case for the White House. You're not allowed to just wander around the White House as a reporter. You're supposed to be escorted. So I was somewhat surprised at some of the things that were actually not in place before now.
It is amazing. I think willy-nilly is the perfect way to put it, that people were able to walk around the halls of the Pentagon without an escort, without even having to wear their press badge. I mean, they were getting away with that, and then coercing people to give them information that is not for the public. Now, I'm all about investigative reporting. And if somebody decides on their own to betray their job and the oath and give a reporter information, they should be doing that off site, not at the Pentagon. And we shouldn't have reporters trying to coerce people at the Pentagon to break the law. I think that's over the top.
And that's all they're trying to prevent. Here's the official statement from Lindell TV. Joining the Pentagon Press Corps, Lindell TV is proud to announce our official inclusion in the newly formed Pentagon Press Corps under the Department of War's updated media access policy. We join a coalition of more than 60 new media outlets and independent journalists committed to transparency, truth, and accountability. As legacy media continues to lose its trust of the American people, Lindell TV stands at the forefront of a rising movement reshaping how news is delivered, direct, unfiltered, and free from corporate control. From day one, our mission has been to challenge narratives, question power, and report what others won't. This new chapter reaffirms that commitment and expands our ability to bring vital coverage from the Pentagon straight to the American people without censorship or spin. We thank the Department of War. So that is the official statement. 7 hours ago, Sean Parnell writes that today the Department of War is announcing the next generation of the Pentagon Press Corps. So that's happening. President Trump and Pete Hegseth explain why there are new restrictions on the press at the Pentagon.
But
Mr. President, will you consider removing new restrictions on the press that report at the Pentagon? And have you spoken to Secretary Hegseth about this?
I have, yeah. Well, he's finding, I think I can speak for him. I'll let him speak for himself, but I think he finds the press to be very disruptive in terms of world peace and maybe security for our nation. Press is very dishonest. Not you, but the press is very dishonest. You have something to say?
Well, I very much appreciate the question because it was interesting to watch. We had a chance to go along on the historic trip of Middle East peace, which our generation of veterans never dreamed would be possible. So you would think that the Pentagon Press Corps, of all press corps, would be front and center across the board on wanting to give credit to the president for forging this kind of peace, and instead what they want to talk about is a policy about them, which simply says maybe the policy should look like the White House or other military installations where you have to wear a badge that identifies that you're press, or you can't just roam anywhere you want. It used to be, Mr. President, the press could go anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the Pentagon, the most classified area in the world. Or also that if they sign on to the credentialing, they're not going to try to get soldiers to break the law by giving them classified information. So it's common sense stuff, Mr. President. We're trying to make sure national security is...
Common sense returning. Pentagon has gone dark, Christopher Webb says. Johnson's calling it transparency. Jonathan Karl says the guy, Hegseth, only had 2 briefings since he became Secretary of Defense, and they basically forced the Pentagon press out of the building. Here's Speaker Johnson.
Secretary of War's. But I just have to ask you what's happened at the Pentagon. Do you have a sense for why the Secretary of Defense seems to be afraid to interact with journalists who cover him?
I mean, reject the premise. There's nothing. The guy, fear is not part of the Secretary of War's.
The guy's only had 2 briefings since he became Secretary of Defense.
He's very transparent.
And they've basically forced the Pentagon press out of the building unless they would agree to sign a pledge that would make it impossible to be an independent journalist.
I can't remember, and I don't think you can either, a Secretary of Defense who has been so transparent, out in the open, talking about priorities, principles.
Oh, I can. I covered the building, and I traveled around the world with Secretaries of Defense. I interviewed them. I questioned them in the briefing room. Other reporters did as well.
But did all those secretaries come out and do public speeches as often as Hegseth does, to be everywhere all the time among the troops?
But answering questions.
He's restoring.
And of course, you guys haven't brought him up to ask about what's happening in Venezuela.
We're not in session because Chuck Schumer shut the government down, okay? We have a lot of things to do, but I will tell you this about the Secretary of War. We are winning. We are restoring peace through strength. That's one of our core principles.
Don't you have questions for him about Venezuela?
What about
Don't you have questions for him about what's happening in Venezuela? We have this buildup around Venezuela. We have the targeting of these boats. I mean, you must at least have questions about this. I know we have questions.
You have drug cartels bringing in fentanyl in boatloads of it that would kill potentially hundreds of thousands of Americans. What we're doing is restoring...
You have no questions about how they're doing.
No, I believe in peace through strength. I think that the president and the commander-in-chief is in charge of ensuring national security and the safety of the American people. And I think most common sense Americans look at that and say, thank goodness. You take out one boat full of fentanyl, you save hundreds of thousands of American lives. It was the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 49 during the Biden administration. We are fixing that. And that's why the American people put a strong commander-in-chief back in the office.
But
This is the mainstream media. Reporters walking out of the Pentagon. This was 6 days ago after refusing to sign new press rule agreements. We showed you that last week. Here's CNN reporters showing at the Pentagon today, handing in their press passes. Brian Stelter melting down. Pentagon announces a new right-wing press corps after the mass walkout. The Washington Post calls it that. It already was. This is the prior agreement the press had to sign. The only thing that was new on the ultimatum is that reporters had to have their articles approved by Pentagon officials before publishing security awareness briefing for media members. Pentagon Press Corps 6 hours ago. Human Events joins over 60 other journalists at the Pentagon.
Well as, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that Human Events is now a partner of the new Pentagon Press Corps, as well as the Post-Millennial. And here to...
And good for you there, buddy. think we'll have to figure out the method to get our credentialing there. Biden's Secretary of Defense went missing in action for days. The pool reporters hardly even noticed. The Pentagon ended up breaking the story themselves. Now these reporters seem angry at the Trump Department of War, telling them they can't freely wander the Pentagon. Here is a major shift 24 hours ago. For the first time in 60 years, CBS News and nearly every major outlet walked out of the United States Department of Defense because it refused to sign rules.
Services emptied out. For the first time in decades, CBS News is no longer reporting from inside the Pentagon. Our reporters, alongside those from dozens of networks, newspapers, and wire services, emptied out their booths and workspaces this past week.
I love it. I love it. Oh, yeah, please vacate your spaces and we will gladly take your offices. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is journalism's D-Day. The monopoly is broken. For decades, the Pentagon Press Corps was a closed-loop legacy media insider who treated military secrets like gossip, who turned briefings into gotcha games, who cared more about embarrassing America than informing it. Jonathan Karl whined that Hegseth has only done 2 briefings. Good. Why brief people who hate you? The Washington Post called the new press corps right-wing. Even better. After 60 years of left-wing propaganda, it's time for some balance. Carrie Lake exposing their hypocrisy. Biden's defense secretary went missing for days, and these reporters didn't even notice. And now they're mad because they can't wander Pentagon halls unsupervised. The old guard is finished. Patriots are taking over the press room, just like they did at the White House. The Department of War is not playing games. So here's the question. Should military press credentials require loyalty to America? Yes or no? Drop your answer below. And if you want to support our work and see us at the Pentagon, check out our shop, link below.